All right, we're live. So welcome everybody. I'm joined by Anthony from Texas Blues Alley, one of the OGs of YouTube, and I'm new to this StreamYard thing, and I accidentally just cut your video feed completely. How about that? It won't happen again.
That's it. I quit. I just noticed
Yeah.
here that we can see the YouTube comments right inside this
Yeah.
thing here, but I can't. Oh, I have to log in.
Oh, if you might be able. Oh, okay. I haven't probably worked it out in its entirety, but if you just open a Chrome browser,
Yeah,
it should be
I'm
good
gonna
to
go.
go.
I'm just gonna go right to the YouTube stream, turn off the video, and just browse the chat there. There we go.
No worries. So if you don't know who Anthony is, you haven't been on YouTube since he's been around since 2007. Actually, one of the OGs, a bit like myself. I think you started a few months back before I did, and yeah, you've got a really great YouTube channel, and also your Texas Blues Alley lessons site as well. And yeah, so if you want to learn some good blues, I've been recommending Anthony for years on live streams. Everyone's like, "Oh, where should I learn lessons?" I'm like, "Go see him. He's going to be way better at it than what I would ever be." So, yeah. So welcome, mate.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm trying to remember when we first connected online.
I remember the first video I saw, or not the first video I saw, but I think I contacted you possibly about the Axe track. You bought an Axe track, and I saw that video, and I think I sent you an email asking you some. I could be wrong. I don't even know if you remember or not, but it was around that time when I think I first sent a video email out about it because I saw that video and I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna get one of these, and I ordered one. So yeah.
I'm going through my emails here to see if I can figure out when that was. How do you spell your last name again?
Oh, I'll type it in. It's
D-I-I-O-R-I-O.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Would've
First
been back
email from
before.
you. Hi, Anthony. How are you? This is Shane from the In the Blues channel on YouTube, in parentheses, in Australia. November 17th, 2014. So you found me.
I thought it would have been 2010. Oh, okay, maybe not. That's all right.
Well, okay,
Maybe I contacted you on Facebook possibly before that. Then
maybe it was. That
I
feels
can't
too
remember.
recent. Like you definitely were in touch with me while it was still Stevie Snacks, right?
Yeah. I remember. I've been watching you since I can remember. Like I remember the first. Yeah, I remember your videos from way back early on, and everyone used to call you Stevie all the time. And it used to
Yeah.
drive you bananas.
That was that was definitely Stevie Snacks. So the first email I have from you is from 2014, but I feel like we definitely chatted before that. Weren't you?
Yeah,
doing
I think so as well.
You were doing a
it could have been.
left-handed guitar site back then, weren't you? Are you still doing that one?
No, I did have one. Yeah, absolutely. I let it expire, unfortunately, which was stupid of me. Now that I've learned a lot about that stuff, I'm really
know
regretful.
why I remember that particular detail.
Yeah.
Maybe because I find left-handed guitar players a freak of nature. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, so do I. You know what's funny? Even as a
lefty from
left-handed guitar player, I can't watch other lefties without going, this looks weird.
Yeah. There was there's a guy named he was in a band named Killing Floor here in the States. Blues guy. I forget what his name was. Anyway, I saw him at the height of my delusional days back when I was just out of college and I thought that I was going to be the next big thing. And I saw him at a local club here, and this guy just ripped. But he was lefty. And so imagine watching somebody who's obviously way better than you, and he's left-handed, so you can't figure out what he's doing because you can't translate it. I think it was devastating for me to watch. I wish I could remember what his name was. K-Floor was the name of the band.
There's a dude, Eric Gales, who's like that. He plays a right-handed
that's pretty
guitar.
much what it felt like.
Yeah, he's really amazing. I'll just give a quick couple of shout-outs here. We've got Lando27 Music. Welcome, mate. We've got Jamal. How you doing? And Todd. Welcome, mate. You've got something in the mail as well, Todd, so hang in there. It's on its way. We've got the Guitar Colonel here as well. Awesome stuff. Welcome, man.
I just noticed you can pop out the chat into its own window and stretch it the height of your computer so I can see more comments.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is the first time I've used this streaming yard thing or StreamYard or whatever it's called. So if anything goes weird or it doesn't work properly, it's my fault.
I'm a fan. It's nice because it gives you a nice little control panel off of YouTube to manage. And I think the way it's working is that my video is going to them and from there to YouTube, not to you. So it's not double dipping on your bandwidth. So
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it should give us the best possible quality from both people.
Yeah, I'm on super low bandwidth here too. So I thought this might be a good solution for just working with what I had. So yeah, we connect to there, then it's sending out to the YouTube, Facebook, which is something I haven't done forever. So it's pretty cool.
So you moved. I remember you doing a little thing you were testing a wireless thing from way back in your backyard. So you moved to a new house somewhere else in Australia?
I did. Yeah, I moved from the beach to the hills, which was a complete extreme. But you know what? I'm kind of used to this now. It's quite beautiful out there too. So it's good having a bit of.
Back in 2015, my wife and I and our first boy, we lived over in just regular suburbs of State College. State College is a college town, so it's when the students are all here, it's about 60,000 students and about 50,000 locals, all within So it's big for somebody like me who grew up in a small town. But if you're from any major city, it feels like a small town. And so we lived in a suburb of that and moved across town up to this property on the mountain. And I had no idea how much I would enjoy living in the woods. I'm telling you, like it makes working from home a little bit better for your mental health, I think.
So that's what inspired the beard, hey?
What's that?
That's what inspired the beard. Living out in the woods. You got any flannelette shirts yet? Have you got I don't know what they're called.
I've got some flannels. Flannel season is coming to an end, but I've got some. It's funny. I found a post that I made on Facebook years and years ago, and it said, every fall when I go into the clothing store, I wonder, is this the year I start wearing flannel? And every year so far, I've said, not yet, but soon. And what's funny is that when we moved to the mountain, that's when my flannel collection started getting bigger. Something about being in the woods.
Yeah, well, it makes sense out there. Yeah, absolutely.
So your internet situation, being up in the hills of Australia, is that something that can improve, or are you stuck with what you got?
No, I'm finally going to get what they call the NBN, which has a lot of problems to some extent, but it's like 40 times faster. So I'm on like something that would be considered really old ADSL. It's just a terrible.
Oh, DSL, yeah.
Yeah.
So is the new thing you're going to get cable based or is it fiber based?
Yeah, it's sort of fiber based. They do throttle it to some extent, but it's basically 100. It's supposed to be theoretically 100 down, 20 up, or 40 up. Sorry, but it'll be more like 80-20, I think, by the time.
I got 120 up, or no, 120 down, 20 up here, and I can stream at 4 megabits per second. And I'm connected to the house with a point-to-point, because the internet goes to the house, and then I beam it down to the barn with a point-to-point wireless thing, and it literally is like a wireless Ethernet cable. Like in terms of the stuff connected to it, you can't tell a difference. And so I've done live streams an hour long from down here without a single drop.
Oh, that's great.
So once you get like above 10 megabits up or 20 megabits up, it's going to make a world of difference.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I can't wait to just be able to upload and not have it take 4.5 hours. It's so brutal.
With the amount of videos that you're doing now, I mean, you're like uploading something like at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And if something fails in the middle of a big upload like that, I mean, I remember that before the internet speeds around here have improved a lot in the past 10 years. But I remember before I had business class internet, just when it came time to upload the video, that was my least favorite part of the process.
Yeah. Oh, it's same here. When I actually have a really great, or I had a really great wireless solution for uploading. It was super quick. But where I've moved to, that doesn't work so well. I had a lot of more towers at my old place, so I could upload at like 20 meg.
Cellular based.
Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, I've only got it as a backup solution in case my internet drops, which it does from time to time. But I want to ask you a question too. You recently posted the Chris Kane lick. Chris Kane's one of my favorite players,
Yes.
and I know you sort of dug through your CD collection or virtual CD collection or whatever to find some of his music again. When was the first time you heard of him? And yeah, what do you think of his playing compared to, I guess, a lot of other guys? Because
So
I love his stuff.
I first heard of Chris Kane. So there is as with many things, this is going to be more detail than anybody asked for. There was a guitar player in town here by the name of Mark Ross, and he fronted a blues band called Queen Bee and the Blue Hornet Band. When I first came to college and got into blues guitar, he was the blues guy around town. And he was super nice to me as I was learning, even though I was studying Stevie Ray Vaughan and he didn't really care for that. He was a major inspiration to me early on. Imagine when you first get into blues guitar and you're really impressionable and you find somebody right in your town who's doing, I mean, this guy, they opened for B.B. King. They toured up and down the East Coast, cross country, even in Europe. And so he unfortunately, this story's going to take a dark turn. He recently died of cancer, which is why I'm giving this much detail. But anyway, when I was a young, impressionable college student, and I was talking to him at a festival that his band was playing at that point, and we were just talking about different guitar players and influence, and he just dropped this name, Chris Kane. He's like, you look at someone like Chris Kane, he's playing as heavy as anybody. And of course, I didn't want to sound ignorant, so I just played along. Oh yeah, Chris Kane, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea. And the first song, this was back in like the Napster days. So
yeah, someone mentioned that before, actually.
if I had wanted any of Chris Kane's music, I don't know if I could have gotten it. But I found it, and it was the song "Good Evening, Baby."
Oh,
And I
yeah, I
only
do that song
recently
live,
found out today that it is the only album recording of that song that he's ever done, and it was at it was called Live from the Res or Live from the whatever, from back in the 90s. You can't even, it's not on any music service anymore, but I was digging around today trying to find that track, and I've just had it in my music library ever since. And so I heard that, and it blew my mind. Actually, now that you mention it, I can put my guitar to use since I have it, but I'll show you the lick that I was trying to find the other day. So he's playing a song "Good Evening, Baby," which is like the, let me see, do this in this key.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was just like, what? Like, and so that is the lick that I was looking for the other night when we were in the live chat. And that's how I discovered that other performance of "Good Evening, Baby." And so what I like about Chris is obviously you can hear, going back, obviously he played with Albert King. So you go to some of his early stuff. I mean, He sounds like Albert King. He's obviously got the B.B. King influence, but he does stuff when he combines all of his influences that I don't hear anybody else doing it. And some of it, I think, comes from the fact that he's an accomplished jazz guitarist, too. So,
Oh, yeah. And he played in the Robin Ford band as well.
This deep with Chris Kane's music, but I've got a lot more that I need to do. I listen to him, and it gives me a reaction that I don't get from just about anybody.
Oh, I'm the same. When I heard him, I was like, where's this guy been? Like it completely remotivated me to learn guitar and play. And it was just such an inspiring event because I was going through a really flat spot with music for a while where I'd been listening to a lot of the same stuff, and I'm really stuck in my ways musically. It's very rare I hear someone and I just dive right in head first and want to know everything about the guy and look up all his YouTube videos. And he was the first guy in so long as a guitarist singer that I just went, wow, he's got the entire package.
Sorry? About when did you kind of discover him? And
it was a few years back, probably like 4 years ago. I went and saw a local guy here who's one of the best in the country called Ray Beadle, and he'd done some stuff with Chris Kane in the US. He played at all these different clubs over there. And he's like, "Oh, check if you like what I do, check out what he does." And I had a look, and I just went, "Wow, yeah."
It's
And then I was lucky
amazing
enough
how
to actually meet the guy too when he was here
you
last
actually
time.
got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, yeah, lovely
Seems like
guy.
an
He's
awesome
super
guy.
short too. I'm a short ass,
Really?
and he's way shorter than me. So
Wow.
yeah, lovely dude. Just really, as he appears in the videos, as a really sort of generous kind of personality and humble. That's exactly how he is. He just loves playing. As
He
soon as
looks
he
like
started
he's having
playing,
so much fun when he's playing.
yeah,
So musical, and unlike for as much as I have stolen from and imitated Stevie and Jimmy and stuff like that, one of my personal bents in terms of my playing is that I love the major happy blues sound.
yeah,
So I like the intensity of Stevie, but when I play, more of the B.B. King influence comes out when I play than what I typically would hear Stevie do. And so what I notice from a lot of guys who get influenced by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix is they're really, really heavy on the minor pentatonic blues. And they don't spend hardly any time at all working on the sweeter stuff, like the B.B. King influence stuff. And so that's why when I heard Chris Kane and when I listened to him play, that's why I connect with it so much, because there's a joy. I like the aggression, no question about that. But there's a joy in his playing that comes out. You can see it on his face. You can see it when he's playing. And, it's inspiring. So I totally know what you mean about feeling like you're in a rut and then seeing that and realizing there's a whole world over here that I can study that doesn't sound anything like what I know.
No, I feel exactly the same. Hey, we got a super chat for you here from Nick Vaz. I'll just put this on screen for you, mate. He
Nick,
says,
yeah.
"Thank you, Nick." He says, "Have you tried the PRS Silver Sky?" And if you have, I guess
never picked one up, but I am over my initial skepticism, and now I do want to try it.
I think
I made really an embarrassing number of memes when that first came out, and I think one of them
you're the meme king now. Online, you are the meme generator. You are the meme generator.
I showed a Strat, and then I showed a Silver Sky, and my caption was, "When you reboot your guitar, but it comes up exactly the same." So I was initially like that guy, but like everyone talks about, once you get past the fact, okay, it looks like a Strat, it plays so well, and like that for me. That's what matters, because I have like my SRV that I was just playing there. It's decent. It plays nice, but my Don Grosh, the Sunburst on the wall right back there, that guitar plays like $1 million, and the difference between the two is worth $1,000. If you played my SRV and you played that Don Grosh, the difference in how easy that one is to play compared to the SRV, it would be worth an extra $1,000. And so that's the primary reason that I would be interested in the Silver Sky, is that if they really have nailed the playability thing, I mean, if you can play extra notes because something is just set up better, then
I feel the same.
You know how much I love playing all the notes.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah, my PRS just makes it easy. It really does. The PRS SE I've got. And I didn't expect it to play as easily as it does, but it really gives you a little bit more freedom and just having it feel like less of a challenge, I guess.
Which
Strats you got to work harder on
have?
most Strats. I've only got a PRS SE Custom 24. So it's a Krampus green one. It's not their high-end one or anything like that. And I had no expectations of buying it. Like, I borrowed it just for a video, and I went back and I bought it the next day. It was really easy to play, and lots of cool stuff. Yeah, Chris Kane used to also play with the Robin Ford band back in the day too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a saxophone player and a piano player as well. So he's one of those really, he's a smart ass.
So speaking of PRS, so I have 2 in my collection. Right there is the S2 Starla, I think. And that blue metallic one, actually, I'm going to pull that one off the wall here so you can see it.
I actually thought that was a Gretsch when I first saw that one.
Sorry, I had to take my headphones off there for a second so I could
that's all right.
make it reach. So you were saying you thought that was...
I thought it was a Gretsch just when I first saw it from sort of like the corner of the screen before. But yeah, there you go.
So we have a local guitar store. We had a local guitar store here that was a PRS. They used to be a Gibson dealer, Fender. They were the big guitar store. And so they're going out of business because they lost the lease on their building. So he was basically having a fire sale. Everything's on sale. I walk in and I see this finish on the PRS. It's all the way over the neck, all the way up on the headstock. And I've just had a thing for blue guitars recently. I have no idea why. I think I got it for $800.
Wow.
And it's a standard.
Oh, how's the back of the neck? Looks awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, wow.
So, if you think back, have you ever seen a PRS and like the S2 line that has this finish?
No, not at all. It's
so
great.
What he told me is that when the PRS dealer came by the shop, he had this one in his collection. I think it was like a one-off or a limited run with this. Obviously, they've done metallic finishes in blue, but I had never seen this particular blue, and I was in love. So that was my Christmas present for a year of hard work.
Beautiful.
But yeah, getting back to the playability thing, I got to tell you, I kind of have, I wouldn't say I have a love-hate relationship with Fenders, but I'm not enthralled with, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag. They make so many guitars, so many different levels. I've played some in the store, feel good. Others don't. I have never picked up a Paul Reed Smith in the store that didn't play well. And the playability of the S2 Starla back there and this one, they're just so easy to play. So that's why I think the Silver Sky probably be no different.
I'm gonna show you my last. You probably might have seen it. I'm not too sure, but I wondered if you've actually tried one of these or whether you might consider it. This is one of the easiest guitars I've had to play in quite some time. It's almost too easy to bend on it, which means I'm going to try and. Nah, this is a Gibson Les Paul Special. Yeah, so this is the TV yellow one. One of the things I don't usually go for these guitars. One of the reasons I don't usually go for these guitars is they're usually pretty heavy. This is lighter than most of my guitars in the collection.
Really?
And it's got a nice big neck. And yeah, it's pretty cool. But one thing I've noticed with this, because it doesn't have the Tune-O-Matic bridge down here.
No.
It's just got the tailpiece. It's way easier to bend on. So I'm actually going to I'm going to go up to 11s on this guitar, or back to 11s, I should say. So yeah, it's a really overly easy guitar to sort of, if you want to do like really huge bends, man, it's fun. Yeah, it's something to do with that. Probably something to do with could be because it's missing the Tune-O-Matic bridge. I'm not too sure if it's something to do with that or not. But if you like doing obviously those big huge bends, that's the easiest guitar for that I've got. It's almost like uncontrollable at the start until I got the feel for it. But yeah, they're pretty cool too. The P90s. Do you ever dabble with the P90s much these days?
I have I think I showed it on one of our live streams. I have a Yamaha Pacifica.
Oh, yeah.
It has a P90 in the neck. And I haven't really figured out yet what I want P90s to sound like. Because at first, when I first plug them in, they just sound like hot single coils.
Yeah.
And so my default instinct is just to try and make it sound like a regular Strat. But I feel like I know what to do with humbuckers because they're obviously so different than single coils. But so I haven't spent enough time with P90s to really feel like I know what I want to do tone-wise when I plug one in.
Yeah. They're I look at them as a sort of a heavier sounding. They're like, they got heaps of attitude, and you'll never have a pristine, clean tone. That's kind of what they're a dirty blues tone. That's sort of how I
that's a good a good view on that, and it makes me realize in hindsight some of the things that I was feeling as I first plugged in that Yamaha, that it's like I couldn't. It had to turn everything way down to get any clean tone.
Yeah.
But that's not really what it's for.
Here's a really great question from Jamal for the lockdown fund. Thank you, Jamal. You don't have to do that, mate. He says, question for both of you. What was the most difficult part of learning when you first started your guitar journey? Thanks for doing the live stream. Well, you're the guest, mate, so you can go first if you want.
What was the most difficult part? That's a good question.
You need some time.
I think it's hard because I'm a self-taught player, and I learned very, very quickly. So I learned by observation, watching and hearing and imitating. So I was basically, I had tons of time in college to study Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and everything like that. So I didn't find the, obviously it was not easy, but I was so obsessed that it didn't feel like hard work to me.
Yeah.
I would say the hardest part of it was not having peers, or there was nobody in front of me to show me what I could improve on.
Yeah, okay.
Because nobody where I lived played the way that I did. And there was no YouTube back then. So there are things that I spent years doing wrong that I probably could have fixed in a matter of weeks if somebody knowing what I know now had been there to show me. So I would say the most difficult thing is that because there was nobody who could show me to play the way that I wanted to play, I literally had to figure out everything on my own, and that meant that I was limited by my own ability to hear my mistakes and hear things that I could improve on. So I'm not complaining because I found that process enjoyable, but looking back, so many things would have taken less time if somebody could have shown them to me. And so I think that's part of why I'm so obsessed with teaching this stuff now, is that I realize I had the best case situation. I was a fast learner. I had tons of free time and an obsession, so I had the perfect recipe for learning fast. But there's a lot of people who don't have very much free time. They don't have the benefit of being able to be obsessed about it to that level. And so if I can connect two dots that normally would take them, years to connect, I can literally help improve their life.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was obsessed for a while there too. Like I knew I liked playing guitar, and then I found stuff that I loved, and it really made the learning process a lot easier. But what was still tough for me was just the physical dexterity and coordination. I think everyone suffers when they first sort of start getting into playing lead about understanding getting some sort of flow. I've never been a fast player, so I tried to focus on other things more so than just playing quickly. But I think what really was tough for me, I got some books and some tab, but it was always the wrong way up. I looked at it and it made no sense as a lefty.
Anyway, because being left-handed, oh man,
everything's
how do you even do that?
I don't do it anymore. The only time I get tab is if I really can't work a really simple part out, which seems kind of counterproductive because it's really simple. But just a few notes in a run somewhere that I'm struggling with, I'll try and work it out in my brain. But I was pretty much very similar to you. I had time because I hurt my back, and once I really started getting into playing guitar, I spent a good 3 months, which doesn't sound like that much, but just doing nothing else. Basically, was just let's learn, let's play to all my albums, let's get the chops going. So I think if you're driven with anything you do, learning is a lot easier. Like you know, if whether you're learning a language or you're learning anything else, video editing, if you spend 3 days straight only eating, sleeping, and doing that,
Yeah.
you're going to be great. You're going to improve so much. And yeah,
I
for
think
me,
of
it
it
was.
as, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
I think of it as gravity. Like, you know, when you study science and they talk about the gravity of the moon and gravity of the earth and everything like that, I think of it when you've got a passion for a certain thing that you want to learn, that skill kind of has some gravity that pulls you through the difficult stuff almost without trying. And I think what is hard is when you accomplish something, the next goal you have might not have as much gravity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you kind of have to. So I wouldn't say this has been something that's difficult, but it's one of the things I've had to do with myself, not just with guitar, but with business. If there's something that I want, but I'm not obsessed about it, but I know that I need to get there, I have to find a way to trick my brain into becoming obsessed about that thing. Like that's how it was with like making tablature. I still outsource the creation of my most difficult tablature pieces to a guy in the UK who's much better at it than me. But I am pretty good at putting together simple tabs for a free lesson Friday or something like that. But it took me kind of tricking my mind into thinking, look how many good things will be able to come if you don't see creating tablature as a mountain to climb. You know, what if you get really good at climbing this mountain? And so I think sometimes there's an old story about this is turning into like a Tony Robbins motivational speech here. There's an old story about this lady who swam across the English Channel, and they asked her how she did it, and she said every time she get tired, she just looked towards the other side, and she kept the goal in front of her. And I think that is something that guitar players sometimes we have to do, where if it's just not connecting for us on guitar, sometimes we have to sit down with the goal, which might be the music that we want to learn, and you've got to sit there in it. Don't play it. Just sit there, put your headphones on, and just soak in that music and let that sound get into your bones. Because sometimes if you're trying to play something and it's not yet coming from the inside, it's not quite authentic yet. You know what I mean? Whereas if that sound is already so inside you that it's begging to come out, I'm talking gibberish here, but it feels like it becomes easier to learn it when your mind is making that sound already.
Oh, totally. I totally agree with you. This is exactly how I felt about when I first started learning. Just I had that passion in me to want to do it. And then you've got to, there's also a part of your brain that needs to be able to hear or see the end goal. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why I always encourage people on my YouTube channel to go to blues jams. Once you get to a certain point, you know, have that as something to help you continually. I mean, there's some bad blues jams out there as well, right? But it's a really good goal. If you can say to yourself, I've been playing at home for 5 years, it's time to, I'm bored, I don't know what to do, go play live. Because all of a sudden you'll work out that, you know, you might be able to play lead, but your rhythms might stink and you'll need to work on other things as well. I think rhythm might be one of the most sort of underrated things that people learn. That's why also we're talking about Chris Kane before. A lot of his little parts on rhythm guitar, I was like, this is a completely different approach. And and to be able to take even a 1/1000th of that and apply it in a live situation, I'm like, oh, I've just added a new flavor to the mix. And that's what kind of keeps me motivated and you know, playing live when obviously we can't do that right now, but you know, generally. So if you're bored playing guitar, set a goal like Anthony said, and just focus on it, make it happen, because it motivates you to do more in anything in your life. Really, you achieve something, keep moving forward. It really gets you going. Yeah, especially music.
If you can trick your brain into obsessing about it. And this is one of the most valuable things that I've learned, is that we as human beings are not fixed. We are very pliable. And something that on any given day you wake up and you're kind of excited about it, that thing can turn into an obsession. There are some things in life that will hit you that are immediately an obsession, and you don't have to work. It just, that desire is right there.
Yeah.
But if something doesn't hit you like that right away, that doesn't mean that it can't become that. You know, you can, like that Chris Kane lick that I saw, it's like I was like buzzing as I was putting together that lesson. I was like, I got it.
Cool.
Like that was one of those things, it just hit me. There are other things that I have learned, like say some of my, so I've done 2 Jimi Hendrix courses that each had 2 solos. So you talk about the song, Hear My Train A-Comin'.
Yeah.
I've not spent a great amount of time listening to that song over the course of my life. It is not one of my obsessions. But when it came time to do a course, I had to choose which songs am I going to base these solos on. And I narrowed it down, and that was one that had a lot of art out there to pull from. There was a lot of examples. And so I was forced to kind of sit with that song, listen to it over and over and over. And at some point, it became an obsession. And so I guess what I'm saying is that realize that you as a human being are manipulatable. You are pliable. Your brain can change. And if there is something that you want to learn and it feels like work, part of the reason is that it's not an obsession yet. And there's a good chance that if you have some interest in it, if you just sit with it and explore it long enough without putting conditions on yourself, and just allow yourself to be like a kid who just got a new toy, just sit there and play with that thing, listen to the music, think about how awesome it would be to play it, and watch if that gravity doesn't start to form to kind of pull you through. When you try and force yourself to go into something before that obsession is there, that's when I think you can hit burnout.
Let me ask you a question. Just, I'll put it out there for everybody. I've spoken about this before too, but just in terms of learning that Chris Kane lick that you put up, did you do what I do in that situation where you hear it a whole lot of times, you hum along with it, you know, or you can turn the music off and then sing along with it without, not with it, but you know what I mean? You can sing it in your head without the lick, and then you start approaching it, or do you just sort of dive in, you know, piece by piece in the moment? Because putting a lesson together of a lick takes a lot of time. I don't think people realize, like, unless you've been playing it for years and then it's easy, putting a new lick, you know, getting that coordination from the brain to the hand isn't easy for everybody, especially if you're trying to teach it then too. So I was just curious about the way that you look at it. So yeah, my process is I have to be able to sing it in my head before I can easily put it in my hands. If I can't hear it in my head, it's a whole lot more work, even if I break it down. So yeah, I was just curious to see what you thought about that.
So today I'm a lot lazier than I used to be, but that's partly because I'm operating on a schedule. So one of the features that I have in the player that I've built for our locals is that I can bring in a YouTube video and I can create my own loops. And so because I had to learn this fast, I loaded up that video in my own custom player, and I put loops around the 4 things that I taught in the lesson. And then from there, I can slow them down and learn them. So it makes that process a lot easier. But the way that I naturally do it, the way that I did it when I was learning Stevie's stuff, is exactly what you said. All I had back then was a CD player or a VHS VCR. Yeah. And with my CD player, I would let a song play. And when it got to a lick that I wanted to learn, I would let the first few notes of the lick play and then hit the back button, and it would rewind about 1 second. And I would sit there and do that over and over and over. I was essentially looping in a very crude way, but it would get to the point that you talked about where now I could hear it.
Yeah.
And so it's a very weird thing where a couple 30-second notes go by, and you get them in your brain, and then once that sound is in your brain, then you can almost kind of slow them down once that sequence is in there. Sometimes it's as little as 2 notes. I can hear what the first note is, and I can hear what the fourth note is, but I can't hear the second one, and I have to get real good at hitting that rewind button. So I learned entirely by ear when it comes to CDs. On video, with video it was harder because there was no quick rewind for VHS. But with video, I could study and in slow motion watch where the fingers were going. And so between the two of those things, that's how I learned. So if I were trying to learn that Chris Kane lick without the benefit of the tools that I've built in the Pro Player, I would probably have to load it up and just listen to a little sequence over and over and over again until I could almost sing it like what you said.
Yeah. I guess another tip for people who are learning too, there's so many iconic songs with guitar parts we can all sort of hum in our heads or sing along to the guitar solos. They're sometimes the ideal things to start with. Not maybe something too, extreme in terms of how complicated it is, but if you can hear anything in your head or sing along to a solo, a famous song or blues song or whatever, they're the ones to start with if you're wondering. At least in my opinion, anyway. If you can, you've already got the advantage of knowing them.
What was the first solo that you tried to learn?
It was "I Could Have Lied" from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which might shock you. Yeah, that was one of the first songs I ever learned. I love that album. That Blood Sugar Sex Magic one was a great. Oh, sorry, I've stuffed the cameras up. That was a great album. It still is. I still listen to it.
Were they the band that kind of got you into guitar? Like what headspace were you in when you first decided, guitar is something I'm going to pick up and do?
I'd already played a little bit before I found the blues again. Like I'd listened to, when I was a kid, I watched the Blues Brothers and it was instantly addictive. Like I just went, this is great. I didn't really know it was, even though the title of the movie was Blues Brothers, there's a lot of other styles in there, right?
Yeah.
They do that. Yeah. Soul, funk, gospel, it's got everything.
Yep.
So I loved that kind of music, and I'd heard a lot of that stuff as a kid, John Lee Hooker and all that kind of stuff. I didn't realize that I would go down that path because when I first started playing guitar, I knew basic chords, so I was learning stuff like U2 and I even loved the Dave Matthews Band stuff, but that was a bit out of my. It was a bit too hard at the time when I first started getting into it.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then I moved to Michigan for a good amount of time, like 6 months or 4 months or something. And
wait, here in the States?
Yeah. I worked over there. I worked over there for a while when I was 18 and turned 19 over there. And this guy Rob showed me the 12-bar blues, and even before that, though, I started listening to it more. But I didn't know the formula. I didn't understand it. I just knew that I liked the music and I was listening to it a lot.
Yeah.
A certain amount of time went by where I wasn't playing guitar at all, and then. When I heard that, and then on the way back to the airport, they had on Eric Clapton "From the Cradle," one of the greatest blues albums of all time. I said, as soon as I get home, this is it. Like I'm gonna buy an electric.
I'm making up the story that I tell you next, but finish.
Yeah. As soon as I heard that, I didn't know. I only knew a handful of blues guys. I said, "Oh, who is this? Is this B.B. King?" Like I didn't know. The guy sounded like he had a gravelly voice, and it was great, and the electric guitar tones were awesome. He's like, no, this is Eric Clapton's album. This was in 1999, right? So this must have come out right around that time or just beforehand. And we listened to it on repeat. It was like a 3-hour drive back to the airport. And I was just like, this is so good. Like this is what I want to play. So it was, for me, it was easy. That was a huge catalyst for me. And then I found, all the other guys, Albert King, and they got a lot of, influences outside of just straight blues too. But that was for me that's what really got me going. Was the blues was a jam thing. It was easy to, once you got the formula, it meant you could, get up and play with other people. And I like the idea of that without having to rehearse, I guess.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's funny you mentioned that album because my first electric guitar was one that I borrowed from a friend of mine. It's a strange story. He needed some money, so I loaned him some money and kept his electric guitar and amp as collateral.
Yeah.
So like loan sharking when I was in high school. Anyway, and so he eventually paid me back and I gave him back the guitar. But during that time, I had fooled around enough to feel like I couldn't play anything. I was like, I like how this feels. You know, like I worked out the chords to like Crimson and Clover by what is that old 60s band? But I had like now I can't think of what their name is. But anyway, so I give back to him, and it turns out he doesn't play it at all. So for my graduation gift, my parents then bought it back from him. So I've got this electric guitar. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. My influences at that point were mostly classic rock, but for some reason, the first solo that I tried to dive in and learn was from a Guns N' Roses song. I forget. It was one of their ballads. I don't remember. It was like Don't Cry or something like that. Something easy. But because I wanted to feel cool, at one point I had bought a Muddy Waters CD. But I didn't get any of like the good, like Johnny Winter produced electric stuff. This was like old Muddy Waters. And so it was like, it was way too bare for me to like really, because like you have to grow into being able to appreciate some of the stripped down stuff. But the song Mannish Boy was on there. And, or no, it was Hoochie Coochie Man or something, one of those. But even though there wasn't any like guitar fireworks on that album, I could feel the energy as it approached the point where a hyped up guitar solo would be. And so I'd listen to this and I'd hear him sing and I could feel the energy. And I don't even really know if I was connecting with the fact that this was blues and it was distinctly different than the other stuff. All I knew is I liked that sound, and I could hear when the guitar solo, even though he played the same solo for every song just about, just on a slide, I could feel that energy coming, like this is where I should play something. I didn't know what to play, but I could feel that energy. So then that was the summer before college. Then I go off to college, and no, later that summer, one of the guys at the place that I was working put on the Stevie Ray Vaughan Sky is Crying album. And so this would have been in like 95, I guess, because this is the summer after high school before I go off to college. And I hear this sound coming out of, I was working at an audio company at that point called Clare Brothers Audio. Now they're like the biggest pro sound company in the world. But I was working in the speaker department assembling these big speakers that go out on tour. And we had a room called the Boom Room where we would test these humongous speakers at like obscene volume levels. And so what we would do is while we were working and there was nobody in the boom room, we would just play music at obscene levels in that room because it was all insulated. And then by the time it filtered out to where we were working, it was at a reasonable sound, but you could like feel the bass. Anyway, that's too much detail to say that I heard. It was a lot of fun. I heard that full album play from start to finish 2 times in a row. I only a few months on it. And I remember telling somebody, that's how I want to play guitar. Yeah. But for some reason, you got to remember, this was 95. So it's not like you could just go find it on the internet. Like I didn't even have I didn't even have the email at that point. I didn't get email until I went to college. My parents didn't get a computer till I was already. So I was too cheap to go out and actually buy CDs. I don't even know if I remembered who it was. I just remembered that sound. So then I go off to college, and I'm still learning some Led Zeppelin stuff, some Guns N' Roses stuff. And then my roommate, freshman year, puts on a tape, and I'm going to let you guess what that tape was.
From the Cradle.
From the Cradle by Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And he puts on 5 Long Years, and it was like a tidal wave hitting me. I was completely floored. I've told this story a couple times in different Stevie Snacks or Texas Blues Alley videos, but for the next few days, so I'm in college, I'm on my own for the first time in my life. I'm realizing, looking back now, that this is, if I had known I was an introvert, it would have explained so much. But I didn't have a social life to speak of. I was discovering this world of electric guitar, surrounded by people who are obsessed with other things. I'm walking around campus going to my classes. I have the sound of blues guitar soloing in my head non-stop for like 3 days. And every time I come back from class, I'd listen to it more. My fingers were doing this as I was walking. I almost couldn't even control it. I could hear.
That might be a condition, Anthony, I think.
It wasn't, and it wasn't songs that I was hearing. It wasn't like songs off the album. It was just that sound of blues guitar, and it was almost like I was infected. Like you think about the movie Venom when he gets that thing. That's almost what it felt like. Something different was inside me now. And that was a turning point right there. From that point on, it was all blues. And then later that year, I got reintroduced to Stevie Ray Vaughan. I saw him play on Saturday Night Live, play the Say What instrumental. And hearing that tape from Eric Clapton, seeing that video of Stevie Ray Vaughan on SNL, that changed everything. And it was such a deep change in my psyche and in my interest that I don't know if there's anything that has rivaled it to this day.
Yeah, I feel the same about, for me, From the Cradle hit me in a spot that I wasn't used to. And the more I listened to it and the more I played guitar, the more I appreciated it as well. And the fact they recorded everything on that album live, except for, I think they did harmonica overdubs. It is so good. Like I always appreciated Sinner's Prayer on that album is one of my favorites. It's just so there's so much room. It's like, and the shuffle's got a unique sort of feel, and it's just
Third Degree is another good one on there too.
Which one? Sorry,
Third Degree.
Oh there you go. There's another one. So we were going to go for an hour today, and we've been in we've got lots of questions that I've missed. So how about we take some questions if you want to go for the next 10 or 15 minutes?
My answers brief if they're for me.
No, that's all right. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to let us know. I got this little thing we can do here where we can do that. There we go. Put this little overlay on the screen here. It's all fancy tech until someone gets disconnected.
Talking, and I haven't really been watching the chat, but I got to tell you, I enjoy this because, man, there is nobody. I've been working by myself. You realize I left my job as a software engineer in 2009 to run Stevie Snacks full time. I have been doing this longer than I was a software developer. So I've been working by myself since July of 2009, and live in a small town. There's not that many people to talk to this stuff about. Somebody a while back asked if I play live, and the answer is no. A couple of reasons. Number one, I live in a very small town where it's extremely hard to find people who would vibe with what I play. Having said that, there are people, if I wanted to put a band together tomorrow, I could do that because I have the connections now. The problem is that as Texas Blues Alley has grown both in size and in scope a little bit, it takes so much time to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. There's so many aspects to the business. And along the way, we've had 2 kids. They're now, oldest boy is 11, youngest boy is 4. So I've had quite a busy life over the past decade. Having said all of that, I've got a stage downstairs, and part of the reason I built that stage was because I want to start playing in a band again, and I want to start broadcasting it out to you guys.
Yeah, we've got to have a jam there one day, mate. If I'm ever in the neighborhood, that'd be so much fun. That'd be so cool. It looks awesome. So Gabrielle says, have you watched Eric Clapton's sessions for Robert J? Great stuff. Yeah, I've actually got the DVD/CD combo set from that. So, that was another live sort of blues thing they did a while back with Nathan East, who I think is like a gun bass player, man. He's so good. They had Steve Gadd on drums. They had Billy Preston before he passed away on Hammond as well. So great band. Have you heard that as well, Anthony?
I have not. Is that the album he did for Robert Johnson covers?
Yeah, it is. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's called Sessions for Robert J.
I've heard some of it. I did not realize there was a video part.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, I think. Someone's just uploaded it. Yeah, it's pretty good. The electric stuff is still Eric's a really underrated acoustic blues player, you know? Like I think he's pretty cool at that too. You ever seen Stevie Ray's Yeah, of course you would have. But his MTV Unplugged.
I can't watch that too much because I get so frustrated
how
seeing
insane is it?
somebody make an acoustic guitar sound like that.
Yeah.
And the reason it frustrates me is because the reason I don't like acoustic that much, which is odd because I just finished an acoustic course for like Layla, haven't advertised it yet, but I don't like playing acoustic because I don't know how to make it sound good. So
I'm
the
the same.
thing that I do that's a mistake is I try to play it like an electric.
Yeah.
And like I know enough to know that I can't play it like an electric. But then you watch Stevie do it, and somehow he's not playing it quite like an electric, but doggone it if it doesn't sound as intense as an electric guitar.
It's unbelievable.
It's really frustrating to watch.
Here's another one for you. Guitar, everyone says, what's your favorite Strat pickups? I think I know the answer to this, but...
So I've been playing these Zex Coil pickups since 2012. I discovered them in 2012 at a guitar show, and they gave me a set to try out, and then I was hooked ever since. The big thing is that because of the design, they're naturally hum canceling. They're not. They're one coil per string, and so they cancel each other out without having to have any dummy coils or anything. So what I tell people is that if they were only for the hum canceling, I'd still use them anyway. But the fact that they sound as good as any other pickups I've tried, it kind of seals the deal. So I now take that with a grain of salt. I am one of their endorsing artists. I get their pickups in all my guitars, and we make it really easy for me to have them so I can try out new designs, and so I play them all the time. I don't get paid anything from them other than the fact that if I get a new guitar, then I can probably get a set of pickups for them. Having said that, I can afford whatever pickups I want, and I still choose those. So that's my answer. In the past, I have played Lindy Fralins, and they sound wonderful. I've had a set of Lawler pickups, the blackface ones, I think. They sounded incredible. So yeah, my whole thing is if you're going with Lawler or Fralin or any of the kind of top tier that you see, you really can't go wrong. And even I've heard good things about the Fender 69. Somebody else has mentioned the 69 pickups in there.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere too.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that unless you are buying one of Fender's really good guitars that already have good pickups in, you can almost guarantee a huge improvement in sound by putting aftermarket pickups in. It is one of the, I wouldn't say least expensive, but like if you take like a Mexican-made Stratocaster or even like a Chinese-made Squier, something like that, and put some professional pickups in it, you will not believe what a difference it will make.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference to the tone. Absolutely. Just want to give a quick shout out to Peter Gregg. I've been watching his live streams to keep me sort of distracted over the last few weeks. He runs a really great camera channel. If you're into that sort of stuff, guys, go check him out. I just wanted to say hi. He's a huge camera nerd. He knows his stuff. He gives me the gas for camera equipment, like I guess we can to give people guitar gas. Yeah. I've taken it easy on the camera stuff lately, though. So if anyone else has any questions, I'll just scroll down here. I think I may have missed a few. I'll just scroll back up. Otherwise, we're almost at. I'm just going through the comments here. It's a little different for me to look at this. I'm not used to. Oh, someone said, "What about Texas Specials?" Texas Specials are good. I didn't mind those pickups at all. I put them in my Squier actually, and it drastically changed the sound back in the day.
I think it depends a lot on your playing style.
Yeah.
And here's my reason for that. The Texas Special pickups were put in the SRV Strat when it first came out. And the goal is to obviously have people sound like more like SRV. Most people don't use really heavy strings, and they don't play with a super heavy attack. So the Texas Specials are hot, and I would characterize them as a little crispy and a little dirty. I would not characterize them as pristine. The problem is if you do use heavy strings and you do play really heavy, that does not combine well with pickups that are designed to kind of push your sound already. So Texas specials don't work for me because it just gets to be too much. Where I do really well is when I have a nice, clean set of pickups that don't color the sound too much. Because I now use gravity picks, which are like 1.5 millimeters. So I'm usually heavy strings when I'm playing this stuff, and I have a big pick, and I'm picking really hard. And but if you're someone who uses lighter strings and you're not attacking the strings like they are trying to date your sister or something like that, then Texas specials can definitely give you an edge that you might have a hard time getting otherwise. I think it all depends on the player and how they normally play.
What I might do is ask you one more question here before we wrap up. Just something outside of the blues scope, because a lot of people here be watching stuff, be listening to music, of all genres, like probably what we do too. Are there any other guitar players outside of, I guess, straight up blues players that you go, how great is this? And I don't mean like the jazz fusion blues sort of combo like we were talking about earlier, but just someone different that you go, man, what a sound. I'd love to sort of dig into that.
I'll throw one blues suggestion out before I get to the other ones, and that is Tony Vega from the Tony Vega Band. He hits me in a similar way as Chris Kane. He's a player down in Houston. He, right now, to me, has the distinct Texas blues sound. I'll just leave it at that. Tony Vega Band. I characterize him as my favorite living guitarist. Outside of blues or rock, I have always kind of liked Slash.
Cool.
I find his playing to be, he's got a real melodic sense. If we're talking outside of blues, then I would have to throw Joe Bonamassa in there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's see here.
What do you think of Knopfler? What do you think of Mark Knopfler? Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
I appreciate it, and I like, I'll say this, I like the Dire Straits music. To me, their songs are what stand out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like his guitar playing serves the music. His distinct signature style doesn't hit me the same way as it obviously hits some other people.
Yeah.
But it was the songs that really did it for me. Just going to look through my music here real quick to see if I can name it. You know, I listen to, it's this easy. Rival Sons. They're like Led Zeppelin with better guitar playing. Sure, I'm not going to get any nasty comments about that.
And better singing as well, hopefully.
Yeah.
I can't stand that guy's voice. It's sacrilegious. I got grilled about that on my last live stream, being honest about what I think about certain bands.
Scott, what is his name? Scott, I can't remember his primetime. I can't think when I'm on camera. But the guy from Rival Sons, first of all, I love the band. They're one of the few bands that I would pay any amount to go see. And if it weren't for this darn coronavirus, I'd be going to see them in May. I paid for premium backstage passes and everything. Now, as I think it got delayed till November. They are distinctly not blues, but they are rock, and I love it. I love it.
Cool.
Chris Stapleton, another one.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Eric Lindell is more of a soul artist. I love his singing, but he also has very tasteful guitar to go in there. I like the Black Keys.
Yeah, very cool. Have you heard of a band called JJ Gray and Mofro? It's one of my favorite bands.
I've heard of Mofro. I haven't heard of...
Oh, so JJ Gray's the main guy. They just changed their name for whatever reason. He's the singer. He's just put his name, I guess, because he does solo stuff now too. That's a really they got a lot of great songs, man. Yeah. Lots of funky grooves, soul, bit of everything, man. Maybe not, they're not so guitar centric, but
somewhere. I don't have any of their music, but I've definitely heard the name Mofro.
I'm going to put
another one I can't forget, Lenny Kravitz. His,
yeah, okay.
Even though the guy in his band does most of the soloing, the guitar playing is just perfect for the songs.
I'll put a link in the chat here for everyone.
Yeah, when it comes to outside of blues, I don't get as stuck on the guitar playing. Once you get outside of blues, it's entirely the vibe, and the songs and the mood. I don't hear, because blues guitar is the only real kind of guitar that grabs me. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, it's the music and the songs, the whole package.
Cool. Yeah, I just posted a link in the chat here to. Actually, we've got a private one here. I'll send it. I don't know how this works exactly, but
there we go.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah, have a listen to this band. I think you'd probably get a kick out of it. It's pretty cool. Just don't play it on the stream if you don't mind, because we're going to get.
No, I'm not.
We'll get
it pulled down immediately.
Yeah. All right, so we've been going just over an hour, actually, and I said to you I wouldn't hold you up for too long because I know it's probably going to get late. Wherever, what time is it where you are now?
10 o'clock. It's not that bad.
Oh, okay. That's not
we're on quarantine. I'm staying up till 2 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
It's like everything's like off the rails now. Kids are staying up till like 11, waking up at 10. I see other parents like trying to actually keep their kids on like a curriculum and everything. I'm like, hats off to you guys, but it's like it's like a circus at my house. No, I'm exaggerating.
There's a lot of. Oh, sorry.
The 11-year-old is doing some online stuff, but man, when am I going to have a chance to have my kids home for a couple of weeks again? I'm not gonna turn it into school. Sorry, I'm going to get a bunch of parenting advice comments.
Get them playing drums and bass for you. You'll be sorted.
That's right. We need to focus on the important stuff here.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for doing this, mate. I appreciate it. I know it was sort of short notice, but I thought.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, and go subscribe to Anthony's YouTube channel, and if you want the best lessons for blues guitar and maybe some other stuff thrown in, how do I share that again? I've forgotten how to do it. You can go over to his website over here, texasbluesalley.com. I don't know why it looks so squished there, but it's probably because I've done this. And links to his YouTube channel also in the description of this video. But you got more subscribers than me, mate. So odds are all of those people that are
accelerating faster than I am. You can't just take a year off of YouTube the way that I did and expect to stay ahead of everybody. I watched. It was a funny story. This will be my last story of the night. But you know Brian from have you ever heard of Active Melody?
No.
It's another guitar lesson site. Anyway, he started emailing me back in the day, basically as he was trying to get Active Melody off the ground. And I gave him some advice, you know, how you should start free and see if people want to watch you for free before they pay for anything. And so I always thought, boy, he seems like a good teacher. We'll see how he's doing. This guy has gone way up past me in terms of subscribers and revenue and everything. And so we've chatted from time to time, but we connected for the first time in person out at NAMM in January. And I was telling everybody the story that he emailed me a while back asking for advice, and my advice was so good that the next time I connected him, he was already a bigger business than I was. And he just went, it was good advice.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
No, it's good to see. I'm really proud of the success that you've had with YouTube. You've worked extremely hard. And you're one of the few people who, it doesn't matter what the video is, I'm always going to hit play on the when it shows up in my feed. So.
Oh, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, I've tried to make it more personable over the years. I think I was uncomfortable for a long time on camera, and now I'm way more myself than I've been.
It takes years for that novelty to wear off until you figure out what kind of person you want to be on camera. And you have to get through all the phases of trying to figure out what people want before you realize that the only thing that's sustainable is the personality that you want to be and the tone that you want to set.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's a good note to end on. Thanks again, everybody, for joining in. I appreciate it. This is our first direct to Facebook and YouTube live stream. So, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Anthony if you haven't already. All his links are in the description. And we will catch you on next time.
On the flip side.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See ya.